Checkity check. You want to check yours?
Check, check, check.
Now check it.
Checkity check.
Okay, yeah, you're good. Feels bright in here.
I know that light on feels obnoxious, but
Yeah.
I think we need it.
Yeah, for now at least.
For now. I feel like I could get this closer to me before. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Got it?
I think.
What do you want to talk about?
Something silly.
Something silly.
Something lighthearted and fun.
Silly, lighthearted, and fun.
Borderline comical.
There's a movie that if we weren't podcasting tonight, I would say we should watch. But we should watch it. It's the dog movie with like Will Ferrell and like Jamie Foxx and
Dogs?
yeah.
Okay, you're asking the movie illiterate person, so I feel like for a normal person, those clues would be enough to have them hone in on what movie you're talking about, but I'm like, dogs? Will Ferrell and Jamie Foxx are in a movie together?
Rolling with white belt.
I see you getting distracted by jujitsu videos. I see you.
Let's see. Dog movie with Will Ferrell. Strays.
Strays?
Yeah.
What year did this come out?
It's like just recently.
Oh, they're voice acting.
That can't be right. This is Will Ferrell. I'm lost. You're a stray man. You can do anything you want. This beer doesn't taste good, but I like how it's making me feel. This is Jamie Foxx. I recently this couch. Best sex of my life. Yeah, she's dirty too. Oh, well, I can tell. Looks like she hasn't been washed in years. I'll see you later, baby. It was nice to meet you. I really should find my way back home. Any places, landmarks you remember? I remember the devil in the sky.
Look at that guy!
Hell, mother, son of a dumb smile. Those pants.
Rip your off and make you
Stupid
what?
hat. We're completely lost, and my little puppy paw pants are really hurting right now. This could be a lot worse. How could this get worse? Hold on, buddy! Holy... That is the craziest thing I have ever seen. And I'm Dennis Quaid, and Dennis Quaid has seen some... How many of these should we eat? All of them? Give me a sec. Whoa, you look different.
You look different too.
How so? Is it my human hands? Hold up. Shit! The cops! Oh, gosh, what do we do? Calm down. I got this. Hello, officer. None of it. Shut the up.
Shut the fuck up.
Rated R.
So that's it.
Ay, Dios mío.
One of my buddies at work said he watched it and said it was amazing.
Amazing. How high was he?
No, it's Jarrett. He doesn't smoke. Just trying to.
That was the last episode. We literally talked about that on the podcast, how men can get social status a variety of ways. They can be hilarious and funny and goofy, and that works for them.
So can women.
I don't know.
Women just aren't funny.
Just because you think, what's her name? Schlesinger is annoying when she's great.
That's not true. Women definitely are funny. The problem that most men have with female comedians is all they talk about is being sluts. That's like it. That's like 90% of the female comic material is being hoes.
I feel like they complain about dating a lot. They make a lot of jokes about dating. But...
Yeah, and about how they get run through and all this stuff. And it's just like, oh gosh, it's not funny.
Maybe I need to listen to more female comics, but I feel like that's not my impression of female comedians. Versus what do dude comedians talk about?
I don't know.
Funny stuff.
I don't know. No, I just feel like it's just like a trope that women are funny. Women are funny.
Women are funny.
I mean, there's plenty of unfunny men.
Mm-hmm.
I would bet it's just that there's more dudes that pursue comedy.
Oh. Why would you say that is?
I don't know.
Is your microphone comfy over there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is Joe Rogan just a good influence? Does he get people into comedy?
I mean, he owns a club. You've heard him talk about it a little
It sounds
bit.
pretty amazing.
The fact that their whole financial model is set up to pay the comics as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
It's apparently been corroborated by other comics that have worked there and other people that have come through.
Mm-hmm.
We should go sometime.
We absolutely should.
I think it'd be fun.
I wish it was closer to my parents' house, but Austin's a haul.
How far away is it?
6 or 8 hours.
Yeah. It was one of the places I said that I was going to go on my road trip.
Yep.
That I didn't end up doing.
Did y'all stop any place cool on the way, or did you just like truck it through?
No, we just trucked through.
Yeah.
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 Man, I really got to get another. I'm going to get a boom stand before next Thursday because this is just so obnoxious.
And then we're gonna get a third mic so we can invite people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna talk to Micah about Hungry Ghosts. There's somebody else I feel like we wanted. Oh, Katie.
Katie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just got tired.
Well, then I think we should have our shots of whiskey to invigorate us.
Should we? Will they
Yes.
invigorate us?
I think so.
What are we drinking to?
Being of healthy childbearing age.
Okay. All right. It's a weird one.
I don't think it's so weird.
Why that?
Just drink it.
Just drink it.
Now that I'm laughing and spilling it down my face. I think it's a thing that people take for granted.
It's like sitting in the back of my throat.
That was the most pitiful noise I've ever heard you make. Except for sometimes when your nose is running, you make this really god-awful, just like at the end of your rope, like ready to just give in and turn over the towel. You just take this huge inhale, sniffle, like you're like, this sniffle better save my goddamn life. Because I'm so tired of existing in this human body with this nose.
Yeah, hold on, let me see if I can imitate it. It's something like that. That's not
But
quite
then
it.
it's like a... And you like wait at the top, like hoping like, oh, did that fix it? Did that solve all my problems? Did that do it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think people take for granted that they are young enough and healthy enough that should they want to have children, they could. I mean, I was just talking to an Ayurveda client the other day that was like, hey, I'm coming to your workshop. I might be pregnant. I'm not sure. I've been doing in vitro fertilization.
You were talking to them?
She said she had like 8 miscarriages. I'm just like, oh my, wow. Can you imagine?
No.
Right, like, what compels you to keep trying? I mean, the fortitude there is just... Yeah, so I feel like for people who it's just their bodies are receptive and willing to do that when they want to, you don't think twice about it. But for some people, that's a challenging thing. So that's why I say cheers.
That's true. Gosh, 8 miscarriages.
Yeah,
Goodness gracious.
I know. Like, wowzers. Yeah.
She was saying she might be pregnant?
That she tried the in vitro fertilization. She tested once and it was negative, but she was going to test again. And she's 42.
Oh,
And they say anything over 35 is a geriatric pregnancy.
well, I don't know. Is it?
According to modern medicine.
Yeah.
But the U.S. also, I haven't checked these statistics in a couple of years, but the U.S. of any developed country in the modern world has, like, the least... Okay, let me make sure I get this right. That, like, I want to say, like, the least success rate of births in a hospital, but they have more complications, more C-sections, more mother and infant deaths than any other developed country in the world during childbirth. Like, the U.S. does not do that well.
Do you think that says something about our hospitals or the state of our health as a country in general?
I don't know. Maybe both. I mean, okay. We could say the data might be biased, that I would be biased towards saying true healthy women in the way that I define health are probably trying to give birth at home. So the women that end up giving birth in hospitals may be less healthy than the total aggregate health level of women in America that are giving birth. But I think our healthcare system is also broken.
Of course.
I don't know if anyone would disagree with that,
Yeah.
no matter what side of the aisle that you're on.
The CDC probably would. The NIH.
We're doing great.
WHO. Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to talk about any of that stuff right now.
Tell me about how you made progress with Biscuit the cat today.
Nice. She was laying on her heating pad. She looked cozy. She honestly looks like she was doing drugs. We should probably preface by saying she does not want to be friends with me. Mm-hmm. She'll cautiously sniff the very tips of my fingers if I put them out for her. She gets a couple sniffs and then she backs away. Mm-hmm. You know, she doesn't like turn around and walk off. She like backs away.
Keeping her eyes on you.
Yeah. So I was able to give her head scritches and get a few like good full body pets, and she laid there and she was just like completely receptive, like eyes just like and then in your room not too long ago, hand sniffs, and she was pretty chill about all that, and I was able to give her a few head scritches there before she walked off. So progress.
Progress. The cat whisperer.
Oh, I will be friends with her.
Preston.
How's that foot? Good? Right back to
Press, hey. Hey, bud. We're podcasting. Background noise is important right
We're
now.
recording.
You wanna come here? You wanna come snugs?
Where's he gonna snugs at?
Right here.
Oh.
He doesn't care. He doesn't want to, though.
Yeah, he's fine there.
Doesn't feel welcome.
He's comfortable.
Why are cats your favorite animal?
Oh, I don't know. They've just got these neat little personalities. They're not so needy. You know, they're not just like it's just like it feels like you can have, I don't know, you have to earn your relationship with them. I like that. You know, very few of them are just immediately trusting and like, oh my God, let me be up your asshole. You know, and then next you get up mine. Like, no, they're like, you gotta earn the relationship with them. Mm-hmm. And they're just chill, and then sometimes they don't want to hang out, and that's cool too. I guess because to me, they feel more like people. And I feel like this like weird obsession with dogs, like dogs almost like replacing children, is like because people just sort of have this internalized self-hatred, and so they don't want to have kids. They hate kids because they secretly hate themselves, and so they just get a dog to like fill the void in their chest. Whereas a cat's like, you know, I don't really need you, you don't really need me, but we choose each other, you know.
Yeah.
I feel like shots fired a little bit.
Yeah. People don't have kids because they secretly hate themselves. Whoa. Okay. Millennials, tell us what you think. Think the caricature of the dog mom, making that your whole identity and your whole Hinge dating profile. Mm-hmm. It's millennials.
Yeah.
That's us. Yeah. But maybe because we can't afford to have kids. Also possible.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it, but I mean, I guess it feels like it's just a bunch of kids who have grown up into adult bodies and don't have the maturity level to like actually raise healthy kids. So you just get dogs instead because it's less responsibility. But you still feel like you're doing something. Mm-hmm. You're not.
Not the same as a child, but you're still doing...
Exactly. It's not the same. That's what I'm saying.
You're something.
You're not contributing. You're not furthering the species. Passing on along the culture, you know.
Mm. Okay, fair.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What's your spirit animal? It's not a cat.
A falcon of some sort.
Why?
Because they fly really fast. Maybe a golden eagle.
Oh, goldens are super cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You ever see how they just like pick a goat up off a cliff and just...
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty badass.
They are pretty badass.
What's your spirit animal?
It's
Not
funny.
a horse.
No. Mm. It's funny you say that because I've thought of red-tailed hawk before.
Why do you say that?
It's not like I feel that connected to a red-tailed hawk. It's just that I see them at very opportune times. They seem to support me when I need it.
Oh.
They seem very versatile. They seem super confident and competent.
Oh, yeah.
Without being flashy.
Mm.
Which I feel like is me at the best version of myself.
Do you know what a kingfisher is?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I agree with everything you said in context of a red-tailed hawk, but I feel like that also really describes a kingfisher.
Except they're goofy looking.
You think so?
They're goofy as hell.
Maybe. I mean,
big old beak.
Put
You
together.
saying I got a big nose?
Put together.
I mean, that's not wrong, but
they're put together little birds. Have you seen them like pluck an insect out of the air?
No.
Yeah, I have.
Oh.
It's impressive.
Have you seen an osprey catch a fish?
Not in person.
An osprey is another top contender for spirit animal.
Okay.
They mate for life, which people don't know.
Oh, nice.
And they're some of the most successful, as far as catching fish, predators on the planet.
Really?
Yeah.
Second behind me.
Obviously.
Not during the fall, though.
Caught 2 fish in 6 hours the other day.
I had 2 fish in 6 weeks.
I also caught 2 fish, but neither of them were trout, so apparently that means I'm skunked.
Well, I guess you can decide that for yourself. I don't know. What do you think?
I think I still caught fish. I think that still counts. I wasn't skunked.
Would you have went hungry that night?
I could have eaten the war paint shiner. It would have been small, but I could have eaten it. Mm-hmm. You could eat a sucker. It might not taste good.
Yeah. Eat it. I wonder what a sucker's like to eat. I've heard they're just like oily, like greasy.
Probably. Yeah. Okay, the other thing about red-tailed hawks, in movies, whenever there's an eagle and they need a sound effect, they play a red-tailed hawk sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that.
Mine wasn't very good. I'm not the sound gal. not the vocals here.
Okay.
But yeah, they're super badass and super just adaptable to lots of different things.
Like the ground and the sky.
Yeah. There's two different types of hawks. There's the accipiters and the bootios.
Oh.
And they're the bootios, which means they're the broad-winged soaring hawks.
Oh.
So they like big open areas, as opposed to
Okay.
the accipiters, which are more like agile, nimble forest hawks.
Oh, that's super cool.
I imagine like in Star Wars, where the ones that are like
Yeah.
the ones that fly like that.
Yeah.
That's what I think of when I think of an accipiter.
Okay, what do you mean when you say the ones that fly like that?
There's some sort of spacecraft in Star Wars that's like super fast and makes really quick movements and just agile
There's a
and
few of
navigates
those.
around things well. Remember the movie oh my gosh, the word that I said earlier that I'm now doing?
Said a lot of words earlier.
Oh, I'm being so meta about it. When you can't read, what is that called?
Stupid.
No.
Illiterate?
Yes, I said I
Okay.
was movie illiterate earlier, and I'm
Oh, okay.
demonstrating that now. Then it was funny because I was demonstrating how illiterate I was by not being able to come up with the word illiterate. But
Empire or the Rebellion?
I don't know. Why do you ask such hard questions?
Well, I'm trying to identify which spacecraft you... Are you talking about when they're on Endor, the forest moon, and they're like riding the like floating bikes basically through the
No.
forest?
But maybe that works. Maybe that's more of an accipiter hawk.
Okay.
That sounds like that could be a good analogy. And the one I'm thinking of, and I could be 100% wrong.
Is it the one that Luke
It's-
Skywalker flies,
know.
or the circular
It's
one?
white and it's a sphere, and then from this sphere, it's got like horizontal bits, and then the horizontal bits go to perpendicular bits.
TIE fighters. Yeah, that's the Empire. Those are the bad guys.
Oh, the bad guys.
But yeah,
Okay.
fighter aircraft. Mm-hmm. High maneuverability. Mm-hmm. High
See,
rates of speed.
You know fancy words from Air Force days.
I don't think it's from the Air Force. Just applying concepts.
Hawks equals Star Wars.
Then tell my buddy Matt at work you said so. He's gonna have a lot to say.
Really? Is he a big Star Wars nerd?
Yeah, he's a
Oh.
huge Star Wars nerd.
Well, educate him up on accipiters and bootios first. And
Okay.
then see what he thinks. See if he thinks my analogy is correct.
No, it's correct.
Okay.
Accipiter, that's cool, but bootio,
Not a cool
that
word.
word seems weird.
Buteo.
Huh. It reminds me of bougie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like
And do you have a negative association with the word
the
bougie?
bougie hawks. Not really, but it just seems like a slow moving dramatic hawk.
Maybe not dramatic, but yeah, a little more slow moving.
Right, but that's just
Soaring.
that's just what it makes me think of. Is that hawks like
They're gonna work smarter, not
I
harder.
don't want to go down there. The mouse is all the way down there.
That's how red tails hunt. Out in open fields.
Oh, yeah.
Forest edge habitat.
But that's what I'm saying. They
Yeah.
like see it and they're like, I don't feel like going all the way down there. Oh my gosh, I'm too bougie.
Too bougie.
You know, I don't want to get my claws dirty, my talons.
Talents.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wait for a rabbit. I'm gonna wait for something worth my time.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can't blame them for that.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Gotta make the calories worth the calories you take in worth the calories expended, I guess. If you're a bougie hawk.
Do you know the resting state of talons? It's kind of like our hands. Like if you just totally relax your hands,
Yeah.
it's actually kind of closed.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's
I
the
would
same
imagine
for
that.
them. Yeah.
I wouldn't imagine
Crazy.
they're just flying around like talons open like a bunch of idiots, you know?
Yeah.
Like you see somebody walking around with their hands like this.
When I volunteered at the Raptor Center, one of the most common things that we would treat was called bumblefoot. Just this infection in that yellow scaly part of the foot. And you'd just basically take a piece of rag or gauze or something and just soak it in some sort of disinfectant and then put it up in their foot so when their talons went to that relaxed, they'd actually kind of hold it
Oh, really?
in their foot. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. And they just hold on to it? They wouldn't drop it? Really? They just like holding shit?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Because that's just like the natural. Yeah, you could like tape it up in there if you needed to.
Oh, I see.
Because the problem then is if they want to perch and they have to release their talons to get up on a branch or something, then they're gonna let go of it. But
Yeah. That's cool. How long did you work at the Raptor Center?
I volunteered there basically the whole time I lived in Wyoming once I was settled, so a couple years. I would have loved to have worked there. Oh my gosh, dream job.
Really?
Conservation, education, educating people about nature and why they should care, working with live animals. I mean,
Yeah.
live birds are so cool. Yeah.
What was like your favorite part about it?
I loved when we would have our big just community open days, Raptor Fest, where people would just come in and want to learn about the birds, and you're sitting there with the cool leather glove and the bird perched on your hand.
So you got to do that?
Oh yeah.
Oh, sick.
And just getting to tell people about it.
Yeah.
And there was one day where I literally had this bird on my glove for probably 4 hours, and my arm hurt so bad, and I was like, I'm not letting go of this bird. I want to hold on to this bird this entire time. I'm not giving up holding this bird.
So you're literally just sitting there holding it for just straight?
You try and so you want to make a horizontal surface with the top part of your hand so that it's easy for the bird to perch and they're not off balance or off kilter or anything.
Yeah. Is it sitting on your hand or on your forearm?
It's on your hand.
On your hand.
It's like here.
Okay.
Yeah. So then you just drop your elbow down into your body.
Right.
And then make this as straight and flat and stable. You got to be the tree.
Yeah.
Be the tree for the bird. Yeah. Yeah. So just teaching people about them was really cool, and letting them interact with them was incredible. But I also really liked the days where I would just go in and just do all of the animal husbandry, like cleaning, feeding, picking up the poop, weighing them. We had a whole big deep freeze of dead rabbits and mice and all sorts of nasty things. You got to chop them up and weigh them and make their diets.
My gosh.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. That was kind of fun in a weird, sick
Okay.
way. We had Gus, the golden eagle.
Uh-huh.
Gus was precious. He really liked baths. So you had to give him a big thing of water in his little roost so that he could give himself a bath.
No shit.
Yeah,
That's
but we had a
super
bunch
cool.
of educational birds that were non-releasable for one reason or the other, and just getting to take care of them. But then there was one day where, so you have a bird on the glove, and they have, I'm going to forget all of my words because it's been so long, but they have these leather like tresses that are tied around their ankles. And so when they're sitting on your glove, you take these two pieces of leather and thread them between your first finger and your thumb, and then clip them into this almost like little carabiner that's attached to your glove.
Uh-huh.
So if the bird freaks out and tries to fly away, they're still connected to you, even if they're not sitting on your hand. And so we'd weigh the birds to know, okay, are they eating enough? Are they healthy? Because as with any bird, they're all feathers, so you can't look at them and visually get a really good inspection. 'Cause you could press down like into their keel, their sternum. I mean, your finger would go like an inch in before it actually hit anything.
Interesting.
So you'd take them off of your glove, and then you'd have this little perch on top of a scale that was covered in astroturf, because everything, for some reason, Raptors is covered in astroturf because it's easy to clean, I guess. And you'd ask them to like step, because they'd been trained to do this, and they would step onto the astroturf. You'd weigh them. You're still like really lightly holding on to these leather pieces, so if the bird tries to bail, like you have something.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened this one day. I'm weighing this bird.
Gus?
I think not Gus.
Okay.
Golden Eagle was above my pay grade. I did not get to hang out with. I got to go into Gus's thing, but I didn't get to hold Gus.
Okay.
So this is a small bird. I think it was a sharp-shinned hawk. And I think someone was like coming in the door or something. Something spooked him. He like freaks out and just like flies off. And I'm like, cool. So
You
we're in a
weren't holding
building.
his thing?
I wasn't holding his thing.
Were you supposed to be?
I don't remember what happened.
Okay.
I'm 100% taking blame that it surely was user error and not the bird's fault. But we're in the clinic, and this bird is just like flying around, running into walls and shit, trying to get out of windows.
no.
And I was like, oh my God. This is where they fire me. This is where I end up in the news. So I finally like get a box and like get the bird and like get the bird back on the glove. And I'm like texting my boss like, so don't freak out. Everything's fine. But But yeah, it's incredible. I love that place. I'd love to go back and visit them sometime. Becky, if you're listening, you're one of those people that's really impacted my life, and I really appreciate. Even when I moved to North Carolina, so I was driving down 280, headed down towards Mills River one day, and saw a falcon on the side of the road. What I thought, didn't know what it was, but some sort of bird of prey.
Yeah.
So I pull over, realize it's a juvenile red-tailed hawk, and I call her, and I'm like, hey, I know you haven't heard from me in a couple years. Don't know if you remember me. I live in North Carolina now. Left her this voicemail of like, I don't know who else to call, but I found this bird. What do I do?
It was alive?
Yeah.
But like
Just,
injured and on the
stunned.
ground?
Yeah. Because basically I'd worked with the education birds, but they had a whole other section that was rehab birds. So wild birds that they were doing veterinary work on and eventually would like to release into the wild. So she called me right back and I was like, here's what you do. Figured out who you need to call in your area. Like, she was incredible.
Yeah.
So, yeah. The other thing we dealt with a lot out there was lead ammunition. So in Jackson, the National Elk Refuge is right there. And hunters shooting elk with lead ammunition. And then eagles in particular, which are scavengers, trying to go eat the entrails of the elk and get lead poisoning.
Oh, I see.
Which is crazy. So we treated a lot of birds for that too.
How come you didn't get to hang out with Gus or do much with him? And also for context, golden eagles are pretty big, aren't they?
Like,
Okay.
yeah.
4 foot wingspan?
Easy. Probably more than that.
Okay.
Yeah. I think you had to volunteer like so many hours and be checked off and like be to the next thing.
Okay.
And I was working full time, and
Yeah.
it's the sort of thing where there's a bunch of rich people in Jackson who don't need to work full time and or are retired and just like made this their whole life and had a lot more time to spend there. And I was like, I'm here for 2 to 3 hours a week on Monday mornings on my day off.
Oh, I see.
This is all I got.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's still
But-
super cool, though.
Oh, yeah. I think Gus is still there, I'm pretty sure.
Really?
Yeah.
You should go say what's up.
Yeah.
He'd be like, "Oh, what's up, Kimber?"
I think they still have the cool barn owl, Manzana, which I saw when she was super tiny and then when she got big.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They have Ruby, the red-tailed hawk, I'm pretty sure still.
Nice.
I mean, they live a long time.
Those predator birds are definitely pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
When I was living in Colorado Springs, I was hiking up to this one area in North Cheyenne Canyon. I was trying to find a climbing spot called the Amphitheater, which is really cool. It is, you just hike up this super steep like scree field and then back through sort of like a canyon, and then it does open up into this big area where it's just this big like semicircle of just like cliff walls around you, and there's climbs all over it. But the one time that I was hiking up, or the first time I hiked up in there to find it, a massive owl came flying out. I mean, huge. Like, I mean, its wingspan had to be like 3 or 4 feet across.
Oh, yeah.
It was massive. But it's just, and I've seen hawks fly around, you know, where I live now, through the woods and stuff, and it's just as impressive to see a bird that big fly that fast. They're like small bird speed. A big bird body. Like, it's incredible. I mean, that owl came out of there just like, I mean, so the reason I saw it is because I heard it flying through the air.
Really?
Like, coming at me. Like, I
Because
could
owls you like can't even really hear.
I could hear just the wind, like it cutting through the wind, like, and I look up and it's literally like,
Yeah.
like you definitely could hear that. Like, it was just like right behind me. I was like, holy shit, dude. And, you know, the thing is, like, it was just following the terrain, basically, of the earth, but I'm climbing up this really steep hill, so it's flying, like, it's descending. So, I mean, it wasn't just, like, flying flat. It was just, like, it was basically diving,
Oh, wow.
you know, through the trees. It was so fast. It was insane.
I mean, peregrine falcons are the fastest animal that we know of when they dive.
They dive at, like, 200 miles an hour, don't
it's
they?
insane. Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah. There's a pair that nests up near Jenny Lake every year, and they close this big part of trail just to keep people away from them, let them
Really?
have peace. Well, they make some eggs, hopefully.
That's super cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I've heard of that a lot. Areas where there's climbing. You have to watch for peregrine nests, and they'll tell you, like, avoid this area during nesting season, and the places that climbers want to climb are the places where peregrines want to nest.
Well, Jesse at work was, at one point, was always had her phone out and was watching like a live stream of like eagle's nests and shit like that. And at one point there was like some like baby birds in there, and then this like big bird came in and just like grabbed them and flew off like on the camera. I was like, okay,
Nature is metal.
nature. Yeah. Have you seen that Instagram account?
I followed it for a while, and
But
then I
had
was
to
like,
bail.
I can't.
Yeah, there's some wild stuff.
Yeah. Confirmation bias towards too much of the...
Confirmation
Rowdy.
bias.
Not confirmation. Words are hard. Just like, when all they show you is the really intense stuff,
Yeah.
it's not an actual... As probability would spread out
Oh.
the number of those really intense interactions, the number of normal interactions. But if all you're seeing are the really intense interactions,
Yeah.
it's just like, oh, too much.
Sometimes though, I mean, you know, their channels or their page is called Nature's Metal, so a lot of their content has metal on it. And like sometimes they have like really good songs that like I recognize from like bands I know. I'm just like, oh hell yeah. Song slaps. Cheetah eating a warthog from the, you know, inside out. That'd be a way to go, having your testicles eaten off while you're still alive.
What?
That's what they do. Like when hyenas like take down like wildebeest and shit, they like eat the nuts first and like eat its
Really?
asshole and like eat themselves like into the carcass. I mean, like the body, while this thing's like, ah, ah. This is why those animals don't get a consciousness like we do. Because imagine living knowing that, like, any day now, you know, like, I couldn't live with that type of anxiety.
Right? Most people in our modern society can't live with the anxiety of just existing.
Right. Yeah. 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 It reminds me of that video that I wanted you to watch. The word harm and triggered is used a lot.
People just need to watch more of Daddy Huberman instead.
Daddy human.
Sunlight and a good circadian rhythm will do a whole hell of a lot for anxiety and depression.
Yeah. Well, I like the sort of phrasing that Jordan Peterson uses, where he's like, most people aren't depressed; they have symptoms of depression. So he cautions against saying, you know,
You're
depressed or,
yeah.
or saying someone is depressed. Which also, just from a clinical sense, it's like we don't have like we shouldn't be self-diagnosing. We're also
Right.
not qualified to self-diagnose,
Right.
and we certainly shouldn't be just handing out diagnoses,
Diagnoses, I think.
to other people. But yeah, it's like, no, the vast majority of you aren't depressed. You have symptoms of depression. And that is only because your lives aren't arranged in ways in which you actually want them to be arranged.
Which you have control
Which you
and
have
agency
control
over.
and agency over.
Yeah. I think if we actually listened to all the diagnosing that everyone does, half of the world would be a narcissist nowadays. Do you know, statistically speaking, how common that actually a true narcissistic diagnosis?
I don't, do you?
No.
I know that psychopathy, when he talks about that, especially in the context of social media and how the internet has sort of enabled psychopathic tendencies, he talks about 3% being sort of like the ambient level that psychopaths can operate at without exposing themselves, essentially. And then when it starts to rise above that in a healthy society, above that 3% mark, a healthy society will start to take action to push back the psychopaths.
Oh,
And
you
then
mean 3% of the society
of the
is
population.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. And then at about the 3% mark, that's when psychopaths don't have enough effect on society for everyone to notice. Right? But then with social media and the way that things can happen on the internet and the way people can just be like, can spew so much vitriol behind the safety of a screen or a laptop or whatever, it's enabling these psychopathic tendencies because we haven't figured out yet how to basically hold those psychopaths accountable, how to push them back. And it doesn't even mean that they're all psychopaths, but it means it enables the psychopathic tendencies within people, you know?
There's safety behind the screen.
Yeah.
Look at Q of QAnon. I mean,
internet trolls in general. One of the things that gets talked about a lot that Joe Rogan's always talking about is he's like, you know, the vast majority of these people are never going to talk to somebody like that face to face. You know, which is like the point of why humans were meant to have, you know, exchanges and interactions face to face, not over screens. Like, you're meant to stand there and potentially have to face the consequences of the things you're going to say. You know, whether it's seeing how you make that person feel, or whether it's that person, you know, punching you in the face. Like, either one, you know, like, you either have to have some sort of like compassion or sympathy, or you face physical consequences, you know. And so to not have to face either of those, you just keep the stupid shit you want to say to yourself.
yeah. I mean, they say a huge percentage of communication is nonverbal as well, and you're missing out on that whole component.
Yeah.
Using technology. I mean, that even happens for people that know and understand each other well.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I feel like you were texting me very normal things, and I was like, what? Huh? What do you mean?
Yeah.
Mercury's in the microwave.
Mercury's in the microwave. I guess, so that must have been when I was like, we need an online version of this course. And then you were like, what? By January? Like, that's going to be a lot of work. And I'm like, no, not by January. I'm just saying, just in general.
Yeah. So confused.
It's okay. Just got to get Mercury out of the microwave.
Freddie, what are you doing in there?
So we've done 7 episodes. This is episode number 7 of this, and we said 10 episodes so we could get the kinks figured out and figure out the production basically. What's it been like for you so far? Because we're getting to the point where we're gonna have shit uploaded, and we're gonna be like, hey, go listen to our podcast.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's not just going to be like, yeah, we're working on it and you'll know more eventually. It's like we're, you know, a few weeks away from, you know, making clips, putting them out there, pointing people to Spotify, feedback, criticism. Hopefully, that's assuming anybody listens to it. That's going to be the thing, is we're not going to get anything from it, any feedback or anything, or criticisms at first, because like 3 people are going to listen to it. But what are you thinking? What are you feeling? Hopefully 3 people.
My mom.
Yeah, so your mom, probably mine, maybe a handful of friends.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll be able to start. We'll have our little network that we can get going, and hopefully maybe, you know, there's some interesting stuff that we've talked about that maybe
intrigues people.
Yeah.
It's been so much fun. Just the whole reason why I suggested that we should start a podcast was what I've seen play out, that it's really easy for us to have deep, articulate conversations about a variety of topics that span the whole spectrum of the human existence. And we can talk about crazy things like problems in society or fissures and ruptures that we identify need to be healed. We can talk about psychology and our own shortcomings and our own wins and how that applies to us and our relationship. We can talk about goals in the future and what we want, and just hoping that there's some value in that for someone else in the world. And so it's been really cool through the process of recording to feel like that's really come true. That I feel like it's just been this ease. It's never felt awkward. It's never felt forced. It's just doing what we're good at, and hopefully that helps somebody along the way. And this process has just been so fun. I really look forward to this and enjoy this, and every single time. Episode 1 was a little rocky, but yeah, just feeling like, oh yeah, we can do this. And it puts up against the edge of our own stuff of imposter syndrome and who are we to think we have a platform and think we have something reasonable to say that would contribute to society as a whole. But knowing there has to be other people out there that think this way or want other voices like this, that are looking for what we can potentially offer. And that comes from a place of deep humility as well. Not saying that we have it all figured out, not saying that we're perfect, but just saying, hey, we're going to be brave enough to be out here and do it. And if that inspires somebody else to be brave, then we've done the work. So it still doesn't feel 100% real to me that this is going to be out in the world and people are going to listen to it and have their own opinions about it, as people do. I'm sure that will be a bridge to cross when we come to it. Any other Enneagram 3s out there? Really scared of someone saying, you didn't do a good job. But what feels more important is that we've stuck to our values and we've stuck to saying we want to speak our truth into the world. And that's the most important part. And it's felt like just help one more person. Just one more person. Mm-hmm. So I've been really proud of us. We've been really consistent. Been showing up the way that we wanted to show up. It's been super fun. We've learned a lot. And there's just so many more directions we can go with it. So much more that we can put out into the world. So it's been a super positive experience. I'm really happy that we're committing to.
Nice.
Yeah.
How have you not yawned once? I'm so sleepy.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm excited to start having guests.
I didn't work last night and you did. That might have something to do with it. I don't know.
That's true.
You're
No, I had class last night.
Oh, right. You're right.
Oh, right. Today's Thursday.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I had class. But yeah, I'm excited to start having guests. I agree with you, though, that it's been cool to be consistent 7 weeks in a row. Almost 2 months. And we have figured things out, and we're figuring more things out, and we've kind of got our video situation a bit improved, and look at Preston. Oh my goodness. That's exciting, and our audio from the last podcast was a lot better because we figured out we just got to be close to the mics. And I'm excited to see what it's like a year from now. You know, when we have 52 episodes out. You know?
Oh, yeah.
104 episodes. 200. I mean, I heard Chris Williamson, he's the Modern Wisdom one. He was like, it's like, don't even expect anything until you have 100 episodes out. You know? Like, as far as just getting anywhere with it. But I guess that doesn't even feel like, I don't know. It feels like so doable. That doesn't even feel intimidating. Like that 100, like, you know, I know at the beginning of this, we were like, let's just get to 10 before we even start saying, yeah, we have a podcast, go listen to it. Let's let ourselves have 10 episodes to figure out, get the video and the production and putting it together and getting it uploaded and our what platforms, distribution platforms are we using and that sort of thing. But 100 somehow still feels just like the beginning,
Oh yeah.
like a beginning,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel like there's so many things we haven't even touched on or talked about yet, and
Yeah.
people we want to talk to, and places we want to probe and poke at the world a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
We've been taking it easy, but it's a lot more we can.
So we've been taking it easy?
I think a little.
What do you mean?
Just what we've talked about. There's things we haven't breached, shared, rumbled with yet.
Mm-hmm. Any examples?
The trans issue,
Mm-hmm.
political stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess the biggest thing going on right now is Israel and Palestine.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know a ton about that.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there are a lot of biblical implications, which I don't know a lot about that. A lot of it, I mean, it's like apparently some wild shit, as in like end times stuff. But it seems like, see, here's where I don't know anything, because it seems like there's always something happening where some religious person is like, these are the end times. But this seems like there's actually things happening where it's like, maybe these are the end times, because the world is like fucking wild. You've got like a lot of like old timers that are well into their old age that are like, I ain't never seen stuff like this go down, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like I've heard, like, you know, I mean, we're young, obviously, but I feel like I recall times in my life just overhearing conversations about politics and world things where it's like, yeah, you know, these things happen and this isn't that much different and this and that. But now there's like a bunch of old people being like, oh, I ain't seen this before, you know?
Yeah. What are some examples? What do you think they're referring to when you hear people talk that way?
I mean, like my papa, who's 86, was, you know, just being, I mean, I talked to him in the kitchen not too long ago, maybe a few weeks ago, and was, you know, just kind of asked him, like, I mean, point blank, like, if you've seen, you know, do you feel like everything's been in this much upheaval before in your life? And he was like, not my lifetime, you know. He's like, I've seen things bad, but not like this, you know. And I don't know, doesn't it just seem like there's just a ton of confusion being sown, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Maybe we'll ask Stuart about it. The biblical perspective.
When someone says the word evil, how do you conceptualize evil? What does that mean to you?
Okay. So the thing is, we're getting for real here. From a yogic, spiritual perspective, there's this famous Rumi poem that I didn't understand for years and years and years and years.
Okay. This is the same guy, clever, changed the world, wise, changed myself. Okay.
So my favorite Rumi quotes of all time: yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world.
Yeah.
Today I am wise, so I'm changing myself.
Yeah.
He's also on the bookmark that I made you. Lovers don't just someday find each other, they're in each other all along. So he's this mystic, ancient poet. But one of the things that he wrote, I want to get it right. Can we look it up?
And just to reiterate, that Lovers quote was on a bookmark that she made me because she has a huge crush on me.
I mean, a little bit more than a huge crush, but yes.
Is this it?
Yes, there is a field beyond all notions of right and wrong. Come meet me there.
Okay.
I'd heard that in some sort of yoga teacher training or some sort of something years ago and had no way to wrestle with it and had no idea what it was, and it just totally went over my head. I feel like that's my new reckoning with spirituality, more in line with what Charles Eisenstein talked about in the essay that we read a couple of episodes back. That the problem is in saying us versus them, good versus evil, this othering. When I think if we can acknowledge that we all have good and evil within us, and we are still whole, and because we are incarnations of the divine, I believe people are inherently good. And I know this is a juxtaposition from the Christian view of people are inherently sinned and flawed and fallen. So I think all of the division and violence and vitriol that we're experiencing is coming from this place of saying, well, that other person is bad. Instead of seeing their humanity, seeing that you have the same seeds of badness or evilness or sin or whatever you want to call it in you. So I think that's what makes us guard our hearts. I think that's what makes us at odds with each other. And I know that it's really easy to just write that off as, well, that's idealistic. That's not realistic to view the world that way. Even my own parents, staunch believers, there are good people in the world and there are bad people in the world, and those people are just bad. I just can't see how God, in my understanding of that term, would make bad people when they are just incarnations of the divine. I think people can make bad choices. I think people can have bad circumstances. But I think it's just hard for me to view anyone as irredeemable, I suppose. I think if we were to view each other with that base level of humanness, I guess that's where the love and light in me comes out, of saying, if we could all view each other that way, what could be possible? What sort of world could we live in? Charles Eisenstein would say, the more beautiful world that our hearts know is possible. So I think that the conception of evil is super challenging to even think that that conception exists in a real way and we can assign that to people. Because if you try to make the claim, okay, there are evil people and there are bad people, then how can you also not just say, well, this divinity, this God that I worship that's supposed to be perfect, gave Laura Ross cancer and killed her. Someone got hit by a car, someone whatever. So in a Christian perspective, you could say, okay, that was God's hand. In more Eastern religions, you could say that was karma. That was just the cards that they were dealt, and they were flushing out their hand this lifetime from what had happened to them in previous lifetimes. But I just don't see how you can... I know there are bad things in the world, and I know that I've had a very privileged life that is sheltered from so many of them, but I just can't help but want to see the good in people. And I think if we conceptualize evil as this thing that must be fought, perpetuates this idea that people are irredeemable and there are people that are other from us, when the base understanding of spirituality to me is we are all one, and there is this interconnectedness, and we are all the divine. We're just individual little pieces of it.
Do you have more?
I was waiting for you to say words. I was kind of on this just track of just like letting it flow, and then all of a sudden became self-conscious and was like,
Do you have more?
if you want me to say more, but I don't feel like I have things I'm compelled to share.
I mean, we're not irredeemable. A lot of the things you said are very Christian. We're not irredeemable. There is a pathway to redemption. We are also given free choice, free will, to make decisions. And you're right in saying that it's our actions and behaviors and choices which can be bad. Now, yeah, you also said you don't believe people to be inherently bad, or you believe them to be inherently good. That does deviate a little bit from, traditional Christian teachings that says people are inherently sinners and fallen. You also didn't quite answer my question, though. I want to know how you conceptualize evil.
I think my whole point in that, though, is that I don't think it's helpful to conceptualize evil. I think that perpetuates the narrative of othering. I think if we say, how do we conceptualize evil, then...
Okay, how do you conceptualize good? Because you'd have to apply the same argument and say that there's no point in conceptualizing good.
I mean, that's what the Rumi quote says. There's a field beyond all notions of right and wrong. Come meet me there.
Yeah.
What if everything just is? What if good and bad is the wrong lens through which to view something? What if that's judgment that leads us to attachment and aversion? What if instead it all just is, and it's all just divine, and it's all just perfect, and if we quit judging, if we quit needing things to be different...
Is rape evil? Or is it divine?
This is the exact argument that people have about Christianity. If there is a God, then how could he let bad things happen to good people? What if there aren't bad things, and what if there aren't good people? What if we're framing it all wrong? Rape is awful. I would not wish that upon anyone. It's one of my biggest fears living in this human form that I currently inhabit. I don't want to be naive or childish or play down the horror and the trauma and what I've not experienced but can only imagine is just this life-shatteringly awful loss of your freedom and autonomy and sanctity. But I go back again to that Charles Eisenstein essay, and he wasn't talking about men that had raped women. He was talking about men that had made a blog talking about their gallivanting and sexual exploits with women, and there was some eroticism of use and non-consent. But that rapist is still a human. So I don't know, is it fair to say that the act is evil? I still don't know if I can say that that human is evil, even if they perpetrated that act. I mean, in college, when my horse, who was my whole world and my whole heart, was abused and neglected and eventually led to her having be put down, everyone said, that's a bad man. You need to take him to court. You need to sue him. You need to make sure that he can never handle animals again. The whole reason that I'd originally come in contact with him. It's because I saw like a misfit kid in high school that didn't have any friends and seemed a little lonely and weird, but I still to this day don't think he's a bad man. I think he made bad choices, and I think they affected me. And I wish that that would have been different, but we can't create more suffering than there needs to be. Because at the end of the day, I saw he had some mental health stuff that needs to be addressed. I don't know if it has, but I surely hope that it has. I just feel like there's still a spark of God even in those people. So yeah, maybe sure, that act was evil of bringing my horse to death's doorstep and abandoning her. But can you say that that person is evil? I don't know. And the whole world exists in this juxtaposition of opposites. It's neither entirely one thing nor the other. We need both of everything for existence to occur, and I mean, the yogis call it spanda. There's this constant expansion and contraction, this pulsation that gives the universe energy. It can't be love and light and good vibes only all the time. It's not to downplay anyone's suffering or downplay anyone's experience and say that that's not real. But what would this existence be if there was never anything bad or negative or challenging? I think to live fully, we have to embrace the extremes of both of those aspects, the highest highs and the lowest lows. And you can't cherry pick what emotions you want to have or what experiences you want to have, or I only will make room for the good things in life. Well, if you don't make room for the contraction, then there's no more room for expansion. So I guess conceptualizing evil feels like the wrong question. And I know that my understanding of spirituality and what I'm seeking to convey is still very novice, and my teachers could explain it much more eloquently and articulately than me, but what if it's not good versus evil? What if it all just is?
I mean, I think that sounds nice and flowery, but I think that's an answer we get to give when we're not facing evil.
What's your take?
I think I see a world gripped in evil. But I think evil is this thing that's much larger than just bad deeds, than malevolent intent. I think evil is what you fall into when you become lost, when you become separated from the divine. I think the things we see happening, the babies being beheaded by Hamas, the families being burned alive in their homes in Israel, that is evil acting out, completely separated and devoid of the divine. I think the narcissistic psychopaths the narcissistic psychopathic men parading around as women who are trying to sexualize children, those are men who have lost the path from the divine and have fallen into the hands of evil. So I do think there's a separation. And I think it is only when we get to sit up on high, unaffected by true evil that we get to say things like, well, maybe it all is, maybe there's no separation. Because I think when we come face to face with it, it's probably very recognizable, very real, very palpable. I would imagine when Viktor Frankl had his 22, 23-year-old wife ripped away from him as they were sent to separate concentration camps and he never saw her again, I would imagine that he would argue that he came face to face with evil. I can agree with you that it's not our place to judge the souls of these people, but we can certainly make calls about the behaviors. And I would say sending 6 million Jews to die in concentration camps is the actions of someone gripped in evil, even if it's not our place to judge that person's soul. And so I guess the thing, the place that the distinction I would make is that we do have to form a world where people can live in. We do have a responsibility to create a world that is the most peaceful and the most safe and harmonious for the most amount of people. So I guess just to say, that conceptualizing it as evil or good is useless is something we can only say when we're not faced by evil, when we get to view it from afar through the screens on our phones. Because, I don't disagree with this. There's a field beyond notions of right and wrong. Come meet me there. But yeah, we will when we die and we see whatever God there is on the other side of that. But that's not where we are right now. As well as anyone, I like to think that, there's something cosmic and divine about everything that happens, good or bad, but there is some inherent sense of right and wrong within us. And I think especially us as Westerners, I think there's almost a narcissism to the fact that we think that all humans are going to want the same things that we want, behave the same way that we do, and value life in the same ways that we do. And that's not true.
Say more about that.
If you listen to some of the interviews of these Hamas, the only adjective I've heard used to describe them is Hamas terrorists. So Hamas terrorists, people, participants, I don't know enough about Hamas to use my own adjective without just parroting someone else. So, but I have listened to some of them speak, and they worship death. Their goal is martyrdom. They're not looking to preserve life. I don't know enough about their motivations, the history of Palestine and Israel to know why. So I can't speak on any of that. But they're very impassioned about destroying life in a way that you and I don't understand and don't relate to and don't resonate with. So I think I understand where what you're saying is coming from. I just don't know if it's really a luxury that the entire world gets to live by. So I guess that's why I've been trying to grapple with how I conceptualize evil lately. It's because I think it's probably, I guess if you just look throughout history and the atrocities that humans have perpetuated on one another. We get lost, we lose ourselves, and we become gripped by evil, and we do horrible, terrible, horrendous things to each other.
So you're saying for you, evil is like a force that's bigger than us?
I mean, you can talk about on the micro level the kid who's born and whose brain is just wired a little bit different and likes to torture bugs and then goes into torturing animals and then is killing the neighborhood pets and then grows up to be a serial killer. Maybe their brain's just wired weird. Maybe they're evil. Don't know. Not my distinction to make. Then you have ideologies that sweep through societies. Things like men can breastfeed and drag queen story hour at the elementary schools, and the fact that that's okay and people are defending that. We've lost touch with how sacred and important and worthy of protection children are, to the extent that we'll let grown men walk around in panties and clown makeup and act like that's totally fine in front of children. Evil, I don't think evil necessarily even means ill, and like I said, I don't think it even necessarily means malevolence or ill intent. But it's definitely something you fall into when you're so completely lost, and you have no compass of a higher good that you're pointing to. I think, evil is what you fall into when you adopt the tenets of the values of shallow hedonism and self-service, and you reject the idea of anything larger than yourself. I don't think it's as simple as just, saying evil is something that someone is when they're just a bad person and want to hurt people. It's like it's like a sickness. And it's a force that captures people in groups, and it doesn't discriminate, and being religious doesn't make you immune to evil. Believing in God doesn't make you immune to evil. Evil is where we fall when we reject responsibility. It's the natural playing out of it's where the laws of nature go when we try to pervert basic biological tenets. It's the same kind of mechanism at play when natural forces adjust to imbalance.
How so?
In the way that I see all things as fractals, when you remove a certain predator population from an environment, and then so a prey population overruns the environment, and because of that, it has detrimental effects on that environment, unforeseen detrimental effects. The only way to restore the environment is to restore that predator, to restore balance. And I feel like that happens on like a psychological, like a cognitive level in humans, on a spiritual level. It's the thing of Nietzsche saying, God's dead and we killed him. We removed this idea that there's something greater than ourselves. We've made ourselves the thing, the North Star, which we point to, all of us individually. And so we fragment and we splinter, and God becomes our own subjective interpretation of whatever we want it to be. And then our moral compasses have nothing to point towards. There is no magnetic north anymore. And so everybody's moral compass is loose and kind of points there and there and there and there and there and there. We all start fighting, or else we're violent, because everything just becomes this subjective interpretation, and nothing remains real or objective anymore. We don't agree on anything. We have no foundation. We're not grounded in anything, and we're all just afloat and adrift. And I think that's how evil creeps in. The stuff that results from that is evil. It leads to death and darkness. So they're supposed to be a lighthearted podcast. It's the heaviest podcast.
Whew. Man, I don't even really know how to respond. What do you feel like has fueled your own introspection into conceptualizing evil?
Recognizing the evil within myself that I bring to the world, that I've brought to the world, the shitty things that I've done, the ways in which I was a bad friend to people, an irresponsible son, mean to my mom out of resentment for childhood things, seeking retribution, not keeping my word, not showing up for myself, only being there when I needed something or wanted something, only being involved in relationships because it benefited me, because I got something out of it, not asking what I can give of myself to improve the lives of those around me. Seeing how easily so many moments of my life could have went so much worse, where if I didn't make changes, things could have so easily ended up in the future. Seeing myself at certain points in my life, realizing I was on the same trajectory as people who were who were older and in situations that I never wanted to see myself in, but realizing that I was on the same path, making the same decisions. I guess my greatest gift has always been that as much as I've wanted to fool and lie to myself, on the inside I've never been able to. I've always had this pesky aware, I guess I've just had a strong enough conscience,
The second one.
That's never let me off the hook, even though I've acted outside of my conscience for the majority of my life up until now. It would never let me off the hook, and I could only ignore the way that felt for so long, and then just being willing to like face myself, to face that version of myself that was capable of evil, capable of slipping into the grip of evil, of not just yeah, I don't have much else to say other than that. Rejecting responsibility, rejecting the most important moments in my life where life presented me with an opportunity to make better decisions, harder decisions, but better decisions. And I rejected those opportunities. And then having to live with the regret and the consequences of rejecting those decisions. Sometimes for well over a decade, dealing with the effects that those had on my relationships, with my family and people that were close to me, and eventually just realize, like, coming to a point where I just felt like alone and having at times what felt like the unfortunate awareness, but the awareness to know like I had nobody to blame but me. Seeing the people around me that lived in ways which I viewed as lesser, but yet they were living the kind of lives that I wanted to live. Why don't I have what you have? I want that, and I feel like I deserve it. And I feel like you're living life in a stupid way. So why is it working for you, and why is it not working for me? And then just hearing very practical lessons, like hearing the lesson that the spirit of Satan is the scorned intellectual, a very intelligent, clever soul who's so indignant, so bitter and resentful for the fact that those who live in a way in which he deems unworthy are getting the rewards that he for himself wishes. The spirit of Cain, of improper sacrifice, of bitterness and resentfulness. But then having at least somehow in me enough humility to go, well, maybe I'm wrong. That's been my only saving grace.
I think you have a lot more saving graces than just that one.
Well, that was what got me, that was I don't know what it was. Just something always within me that just refused to completely let myself drown.
Do you think then that evil exists inherently in all of us?
Mm-hmm. Because we inhabit physical bodies. The difference between us and the natural world, though we are of the natural world, is that we do have the ability to consider our thoughts and our actions. in the same way that a pack of hyenas will rip open a wildebeest while it's still breathing, we will rip open and ravage a rival society in the same way. The difference is, like, we don't have to behave like that. And we have the ability to say, wait, this is wrong, there's a different way. And we so often ignore that. That is our gift. We have the gift of choice. But it's a big, heavy responsibility. And so when we reject responsibility as a concept, we allow ourselves to do all sorts of really terrible things. Because we're intelligent, so we can justify anything. We can find a way to justify the most heinous things. I think when we reject responsibility, we allow ourselves to slip into the grip of evil. Because ultimately we have a choice.
What do you think that means for the future of society?
It seems like there's cycles, rises and falls. I don't know. I mean, I certainly think we have an end date. I don't know if that's because of natural disaster. It seems like there's a lot of compelling evidence that would suggest that there's been global resets of advanced civilizations. Maybe there's an actual biblical rapture. Maybe we do invent AI and it becomes our overlord and we learn how to upload ourselves into computers and we do become one with machines, synthetic technology, and we give birth to synthetic life and the biological form becomes irrelevant. I mean, I don't know.
You talked about your role as you perceive it in relationship to
Oh, there's a yawn.
yourself. How do you view it in relationship to how you show up to society at large then?
The same. And just extreme accountability. It's not my place to judge the soul of another, and that I'm never going to get away with anything, and I'm going to try to be as honest as possible. And I'm going to fail along the way. And it's why I believe in God, because I think God sets the example, that example. So I don't have to make my own set of rules. It's not subjective for me. What about you?
What?
I don't know, I just feel like I've been talking for a long time.
I don't know if I have anything else to say. It's a lot to ponder and mull over. I think it'd be interesting to bring someone with a Christian background on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Someone different views and just hear them out.
Do you have a friend who happens to be a theology PhD?
Yes, I do, actually. We're going to see him in Florida in a couple weeks, so... I appreciate that we can... Literally what I was... talking about earlier. The point of the podcast is we can talk about it all. Admit when we're out of our depth, but share in a way that feels true and right to us, in a way that hopefully inspires or encourages someone else. I think we just did that.
Did we? Was that encouraging?
In a weird way, yeah.
Really?
I don't think encouraging has to be positive. I think encouraging just has to have momentum behind it.
Oh. I know you're yawning and you're sleepy, but will you say more about that? What do you think was encouraging about the past 10 minutes or so?
It wasn't doom and gloom. The perspective that you presented, exactly as you said, there's a pathway to redemption. You're not so inherently broken and evil and awful that you're irredeemable from the Christian lens. I think that's encouraging. I think from my perspective, the spiritual lens that I tried to present in the most impartial way possible. Does any of it really matter in the end? Which in a strange way is encouraging. But I think the common ground that we both saw is there's something bigger than us. And so when we try to say that we are the center of the story, but doesn't end well. I think both of the perspectives that we offered shared this encouragement towards surrender and divinity and God, however you interpret that. In a way that, yes, take radical personal responsibility, and you're not the end-all be-all.
The concept of surrender is something we're going to have to talk about soon. That'd be a good one.
Should get Kelly on here. She also has a really cool way of talking about wanting versus desiring versus longing that I'd love for her to talk about too.
Remind me who she is again?
One of my yoga teachers.
Okay.
Yeah. A deep thinker, an author, someone that just leaves no stone unturned in their exploration of this life.
Yep.
I feel like the only unencouraging thing is we just kind of leave it open-ended here. Like, well, we just dropped all this stuff, but it's not tied neat and pretty in a bow. There are no answers. Doesn't even feel like the right word. I don't know.
Well, do you want to try to give one?
No. I feel entirely unqualified to do that. Do you want to give one?
Sure.
Okay.
People who reject God have a vast misunderstanding of what God is. And I think we have to find our way back to God as a world, as a species. That doesn't even mean that we have to agree on the same God. But the self-worship has to stop.
Mm-hmm.
So if you worship nothing, you probably worship yourself. And you're susceptible to evil. A lot of people are going to push back on that and be like, yeah, well, bloodshed in the name of religion. I know. I'm not saying find religion. I'm saying find God.
It's an important distinction.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Find something to serve other than yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I could say more, but that's it.
That's all she wrote.
All she wrote.
We didn't clap at the beginning of the episode. Are we supposed to clap at the end too?
I mean, we could, yeah. Same thing. Just line it up at the end.
Guess the placement doesn't really matter.
No. No, just go to the end and find it.
Well,
That was not lighthearted.
on that note,
Oh, man. Woke Preston up. I'm sorry, buddy. Don't look at me like that. Can we tell the story of Mika
yes.
eating shit today?
Yes.
So, is she in here or is she outside?
She's outside.
She's outside. All right, so Mika is Kimber's cat. And she's an old cat. She's like 13, but she's still very spry. She's athletic. She's lived outside. She's got the notch taken out of her ear. She's seen some shit. And today she was standing on this your well housing, this concrete thing that's probably like 3 feet or so from Kimber's car. And we were looking out the window and we saw Mika was squaring up trying to make the jump from this little concrete patio looking thing to the hood of Kimber's car. And since I'm a rabid cat fanatic, I was like, oh look, stop, we gotta watch this cat jump between objects. And so she was doing her thing. She was like squirming around, working out the physics in her head. And she goes and jumps. Now we're looking this like head on, like we're watching her jump towards us basically. So all we can see is basically her head are coming towards us, and she jumps, and her front paws must have, when they landed on the car, just slipped straight downwards, like on the side of the car. Basically, she didn't make it onto the hood of the car. She just kind of hit the side of the car, and her feet just like slip straight down, and she just face plants into the side of the car and then falls straight to the ground. We couldn't see it because she was on the other side of the car, but we got to see her just completely eat shit onto the car.
Poor kitten.
Oh, it was hilarious.
I just wanted to see if she was sitting in the chair outside, but she wasn't there. She
She-
could make a cameo.
Yeah. Oh my
We'll
gosh.
introduce her on a later episode.
I felt so bad for her, but it made my day. It was so funny.
You feel bad for laughing, but you're so definitely laughing.
Oh yeah, it was hilarious. It's almost like you could see her face, you could just living in so much regret that we didn't video it. I'm sleepy.
Let's go to bed.
We're gonna go to an open mat tomorrow. I'm really excited for that.
Do some more jits.
Some jits.
Jits.
I tried to pull an arm bar on Kimber today, and I kneed her in the back of the head.
Yep.
She was in my guard, and I tried to set it up. I had my hook under her thigh, under her quad. Had control of the arm that I wanted to arm bar. Swung the hips, knees around, bop! Right in the back of the head. I felt so bad.
It's okay. You didn't mean to, obviously.
No, I know, and I was bummed because I was like so proud of myself for setting up this move, and I didn't even get to execute it because I stopped to check on you and make sure you were okay.
Which was the right choice.
Oh, well, of course, I was gonna like finish the arm bar.
Gotta get this. We learn things being a foot different in height.
That's true, we do. We do.
Mm-hmm.
But you get some good moves in there. You do some things that work. When you hit the technique, it's obvious that the technique trumps the size difference, the strength difference. Because when you execute what you're trying to do properly, there's not really much I can do to defend it unless I know how to actually defend it properly.
Mm.
And then we had the kindest, gentlest, sweetest sweep ever.
So nice. It felt like we were dancing. It didn't feel like we
It
were
did.
doing martial arts.
Yeah. I just had you roll you over.
Yeah. Just getting me ready to be able to kick my brother's ass over Christmas.
That's true.
That's the goal.
That's true. Well, I still have 10 more weeks. Make a lot of progress in that time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's true.
You ready to turn this off?
Yeah.
Okay. Goodbye. Sorry.